Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to join you this morning. It's great to be back on the St. Paul campus. I was here as a student coming from southwestern Minnesota as a young student, and it's just so encouraging to be here to hear Dr. Lowe's work and to see all the great progress that's being made on how we can continue to feed people across the world and maintain peace. I am here to provide a proclamation that Governor Dayton signed declaring Dr. Borlaug Day. And so I just want to read this proclamation for you. It says, whereas Dr. Norman Borlaug was born March 25, 1914 on a farm in Iowa, and received a Bachelor's of Science degree in forestry from the University of Minnesota in 1937. And whereas after receiving his degree, Borlaug started work with the U.S. Forest Service at stations located in Massachusetts and Idaho. And whereas after returning to Minnesota, Borlaug received a master's degree in 1939 and a doctorate degree in 1942, both in plant pathology from the University of Minnesota. And whereas Borlaug was a varsity wrestler at the University of Minnesota and helped introduce the sport to high schools throughout Minnesota through exhibition matches and refereed the Minnesota State High School Wrestling Tournament. And whereas in 1944, Dr. Borlaug accepted an appointment as a geneticist and plant pathologist to organize and direct the cooperative wheat research and production program in Mexico, where he was immersed in scientific research and genetics through the next 16 years, and was extremely successful in finding high-yielding, short-straw, disease-resistant wheat. And whereas Dr. Borlaug's agriculture research in Mexico improved crop management practices and transformed agricultural production in Mexico during the 1940s and 50s, and later in Asia and Latin America. And whereas in 1970, Dr. Borlaug was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his lifetime work in agriculture, which resulted in saving hundreds of millions of lives by preventing famine and alleviating hunger and malnutrition. And whereas Dr. Borlaug was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal and is one of only 5 people in the world to receive this medal, the Nobel Peace Prize and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And whereas Dr. Borlaug continued his service to humanity throughout his 95th year, and his legacy will live on as an inspiration to young people, a reminder of the importance of agricultural production, and a model of significance that food production plays in ensuring world peace. Now, therefore, I, Governor Mark Dayton, Governor of Minnesota, do hereby proclaim Dr. Norman E. Borlaug Day in Minnesota. Dr. Borlaug was, I think, an inspiration to many, many of us, certainly, and I had the great privilege during one of his visits to this campus to have the opportunity to meet him, and just a wonderful person and someone who has made great contributions to humanity across the globe. So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to join you, and thanks for all your great work.
In addition to the great talks and speakers that we have today, we also would like to recognize those within the Minnesota community who are demonstrating excellence in ag and food security. The first recognition I'd like to make is for the emerging leader in applied plant sciences. With the Borlaug Memorial Lecture, the graduate students in the Applied Plant Sciences program also recognize a recent graduate from the University of Minnesota that has demonstrated excellence as an emerging leader in the applied plant sciences field. This award honors an individual that displays characteristics and values that reflect Dr. Norman Borlaug's legacy. They're selected based on a record of impactful research, innovation in the plant sciences, and a strong commitment to social impact and leadership within their respective communities. This year's award is presented to Dr. Nathan Springer of the University of Minnesota Department of Plant Biology. Dr. Springer received his PhD in 2000 from the University of Minnesota, joining the faculty here in 2003. In his short tenure, he has accumulated an outstanding history of research in the plant sciences. His group has published a number of papers on, including genome scale analysis of structural variation in plants, the role of epigenetic variation in maize, and how gene expression in maize has changed through domestication. Dr. Springer is also actively engaged in the plant sciences community, serving on the American Society of Plant Biology Science Policy Committee, the Maize Genetics Executive Committee, the Corn Breeding Executive Committee, and the Genomes to Field Initiative Steering Committee. He also directed the Microbial and Plant Genomics Institute, or MPGI, here at the University of Minnesota, creating the Science on the Spot series, where faculty and students can communicate their research to others on campus. Finally, Dr. Springer has a noteworthy mentorship record, advising 7 graduate students and 8 postdoctoral research fellows. His efforts have certainly not gone unnoticed, with honors and consistent funding from the National Science Foundation and the United States Department of Agriculture. Most recently, in July, he was awarded a McKnight Presidential Professorship at the University of Minnesota. Although Dr. Springer is not here today to accept this award, please join me in congratulating him on this and his many outstanding accomplishments. I'd now like to introduce Greg Cuomo to the stage.
Thank you very much. I also just want to thank Jan again for coming. As a winner of World Food Prize last week, she has a very busy schedule, and the fact that you took time out to come here is very much appreciated. Very inspiring story. One of the things I think that really stuck out in Jan's remarks is that you need great science, but great science in itself does not lead to impact. It's that system of working with nutrition, working with the public health, and working with implementers and industry to put all those pieces together that really leads to impact. One of the things that we're doing at the University of Minnesota to try to follow that model is something called MinDrive, and Brian mentioned that earlier this morning, and again, I don't know if they passed this quiz, Brian, yet, but it's Minnesota Discovery, Research and Innovation Economy. And it's a partnership with the state of Minnesota to match the university's strengths with industry strengths to address society's grand challenges. There's actually 4 key MinDrive initiatives, and the one that we work in this college is called, most readily, is called Global Food Initiative. And today we're recognizing that as an important part of what we do and some of the scholars that are being funded by this. This afternoon, we're going to pay a tribute to the past. We're going to talk about Norman Borlaug. We have this plaza, the Eldon Seal Plaza and Garden, to dedicate. We also have other people from the University of Minnesota who had great impacts on feeding this country and the world, people like T.T. Chang, working in rice, much as Norman Borlaug worked in wheat, Vern Rattan on some of the economics of moving food around the world. But today, more so, is really about the future. How do we set up for the next generation? How do we nourish people and the environment as the world population grows? And we need to do this work in conjunction with the state, with private industry, and across the university. This global food ventures links the College of Food, Agriculture, and Natural Resources, the School of Public Health, and the College of Veterinary Medicine to try to make these things happen and recognize that it takes a team to do that. So these graduate students are really our future. They're our pipeline for our next generation of scientists and humanitarians that will help change the world. And they will address the society's grand challenges. In many ways, that's why we at the university are so very positive about our future and the things that could come. So please join me in recognizing the Global Food Venture Scholars.
I'd next like to invite Mike White of the Minnesota Youth Institute to please come to the podium.
Thanks very much. Welcome, everybody. So, I want to first introduce you to Mohammed Yaqub and Keegan Kazi, who are critical to this effort and to working with our students. And Greg was talking about the future and developing a pipeline, and this is integral to that, because what we're doing here is reaching back into the high schools to develop interest in how do we solve food security issues. How many of you here have heard of the Minnesota Youth Institute? All right, so a majority of you. So I'll try to be quick, because I want to, for those that don't know, I want you to understand what it is. It's essentially, it's a program that works with the Global Youth Institute and the World Food Prize, and it reaches back to high school students, actually students from 8th to 12th grade. And what we do is we have to essentially partner with teachers to integrate into their science curriculum aspects of food security. And these students then will develop a paper or a project about some aspect of food security. They'll submit it to the Global Youth Institute website, and then we'll actually have them come on campus, and they will then experience, they'll essentially present their ideas. They'll to a panel of experts. They'll then talk with people. They'll have to really get involved in terms of talking to the faculty here and get exposed to the campus. And they start to think about how they might make a difference and how all of these scientific aspects that they might be interested could focus in on food security. And so it's really a wonderful program. And it really will reach back into the generations to develop this pipeline. I first wanted to, let's see, I don't know what these slides are exactly, so we're going to try to punch them and see what happens. Sorry, that was cool. This is working. First, I want to find out, is there anyone here who has participated in the Minnesota Youth Institute? So we have a couple, and actually, Chantal, are you the only one, or are there more than one? There's a couple? Are the only one? Well, I think we should recognize Chantal, because she is, and anyone else that I can't see because of the lights who have participated in it. This is really critical. Actually, Chantal is one of our student senators now. She's come to us through this program, and it really is a wonderful pipeline and really, really amazing. So Chantal, well done. So this year with the Minnesota Youth Institute, we've had a great year. We've had nearly 50 students participate across the state. They've developed these essays and actually have come to campus. These essays are about how to combat global security, food security. They pick a country, they pick a problem, and then they write an essay, and then they come to defend it and actually talk about it. So they came to campus, did some hands-on science activities. We were really impressed with the ideas and the caliber of these students. And I think they're impressed that, they start to get the idea they can actually make a difference. And this is what we want to do, is excite our youth. There were 7 of these which were selected, and they went down, essentially they were part of the Minnesota Youth Institute, and then they went down to the World Food Prize and participated in the Global Food Institute, or Youth Institute, down in Des Moines this last week, where Dr. Lowe was awarded the laureate. All right, and so what we have here is the students. So do I have a pointer? Well, if you just look on the far side and right next to me here, you'll see the students. And the 7 students that came down to Iowa were Jay, Elora, Rebecca, Alicia, Aksha, Taran, and Ben. And they did a really wonderful job. These wonderful young scholars represented 7 different schools from around the state. They did an excellent job representing Minnesota, and they were very excited to meet others who were working on globally important issues. They had the opportunity to meet these other students and young scholars and really develop their excitement. In order to get these students here, we really have to thank the teachers. The teachers have to be willing to integrate into their curriculum the aspect of the Minnesota Youth Institute. And this takes partnership, it takes work, they take a little bit of a risk, but then once they see how these aspects of food security and how science, social science, economics, and all these things feed into food insecurity around the world, it's really I think, a great enhancement to the high school curriculum, and it gets students interested in the kinds of things they can learn here at CFANS. So we really have to thank those teachers. Do we have any teachers here who have been involved? Well, let's thank them anyway with a... Now, these 7 students are now eligible to apply for a number of opportunities, including the Borlaug Rouen International Internship, as well as some other things. Okay, next. All right, these are our students. So I guess these are the ones that I read off in the names in the order there. Let's go to the next one. So at the Global Youth Institute, these students presented their ideas, as I talked about. They met with colleagues. They talked about combating food insecurity. And these students also met role models like Dr. Lowe, met role models like the former president of Malawi, Joyce Banda, and others. And it was really a hugely impactful experience to participate in the Hunger Summit. And also they participated in packing meals for Haiti in order to send over there to help that food crisis right now. So these students who do participate in the Youth Institute also are eligible to apply for a USDA-funded Wallace Carver Fellowship. And this past summer, we had 2 students from Minnesota who participated in the Youth Institute, that were in the Youth Institute and then participated in this. It's very prestigious. One of them is Eva Henningsen, and she did her internship at the IRS Natural Agriculture Center in Maryland. And also Jillian Wilkins did her work out in North Dakota. And I really do want to congratulate these young scholars because they've really embarked on an important pathway that will help with insecurity. So let's do that. So if I bored you enough, I'm sorry, but I do want you to get excited about the Minnesota Youth Institute, and we'll be holding that again on May 15th here in 2017. We are actually looking for panelists who can help participate. They can meet these students, listen to their ideas, critique them, give them ideas to move forward with them, give them hands-on experiences. So if you're interested, I'd like you to please let either Mohammed, Keegan, or myself know, and we'd like to hook you up. It's a great opportunity for all of these 8th to 12th graders. And if you know any students, or if you know some high school teachers who might be interested in integrating the Youth Institute project into their curriculum, please have them get a hold of us, and we will definitely get that going. So thank you very much. Appreciate your attention, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Whoa. So, hello. Good morning, folks. My name is Paul Porter. I'm a faculty member, professor in the Department of Agronomy and Plant Genetics, and I would like to introduce you to a Land O'Lakes project. It's called the Global Food Challenge, and it selects emerging leaders for food security. The Global Food Challenge program gives undergraduate students the opportunity to advance their understanding of real-world issues related to food security and global hunger. It's a brainchild of a number of people at Land O'Lakes working in conjunction with Dean Burr and Mike White and Greg Cuomo. Brandy DeVries is in the audience. Please, Brandy, stand up and be recognized as the Land O'Lakes contact working with this program. So throughout the year, they develop projects and work with mentors. This is the Global Food Challenge Emerging Leaders. They work with mentors, and they serve a year-long project where they get paid, and they have an 11-week summer internship, during which time they actually travel to Africa and learn about real-world food security issues. And this past summer, I was fortunate to go with the emerging leaders. There were 10 emerging leaders from 5 different universities around the country. And there were also university representatives that traveled to the countries of Rwanda and Kenya. And we actually saw the Golden Power bars that Jan Lowe talked about in Rwanda. We actually ate those bars, and we actually visited a site where the orange flesh sweet potato was being grown as part of the project. So these students experience real world issues in Africa, the countries of Rwanda and Kenya, for a 2-week time period. A tremendous opportunity for students. The participants in 2015, 2016, this year, included Blake, Elizabeth, and Katie, and the previous year, Mandy, Ariel, and Jonathan. And I know some of you are in the audience, and it is hard to see, but Katie, I see you here. Ariel, please stand up. If you were an emerging leader either this year or last year, let's acknowledge you. Please, thank you very much. Please talk to these students about their experiences, what they learned, what they saw. I look out across the crowd and I see a lot of gray hair and balding heads, and I see these young, vibrant minds, and this is our future. And thank you to Land O'Lakes for the connection of getting our students associated with real world problems associated with hunger. So thank you very much.